Murphy, and welcome to this segment of Women's Wisdom Network, where we feature Krisstina Wise on the, well, let's just talk about Krisstina. I mean, she's amazing. She's a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur. She's created things like Paperless Agent and The Good Life. She's been featured in amazing periodicals like USA Today and whatever. And she is also the author of Wise Money. And we are excited to have her here today. We're going to talk about some interesting things, Krisstina, because, you know, there's these two things, this men and this women and money. And we're going to talk about the difference with money between men and women.
Yeah, I love this conversation. And, you know, I've been teaching money and coaching money and, you know, in kind of, let's say, the money business for a long time. And it took me a while to really notice these patterns and to really recognize that there's, for the most part, we're generalizing, but there really is this difference between men and women with money. And many of us as successful women, you know, a lot of us are quote unquote in a man's world. You know, I think many, you know, you, Terry, myself, and probably many listening, we've been one of the few women in the boardroom. We've been one of the few women, you know, at a certain leadership level. And I never really thought anything about that. It's just kind of the way it was. And kind of that's the role that I had. And again, never, you know, thought, never even really noticed it. But now that I'm kind of on this side and I'm coaching both men and women, I see that even though we may be in the boardroom and we're entrepreneurs, we're leading these things, when it comes to money, there's still a real difference with kind of this mindset or belief that it's like, we've been able to get this place of success and we're, you know, it's getting closer to say 50-50, or we're working towards 50-50 as far as kind of our confidence when it comes to success at business and career. But I'm not noticing the same thing when it comes to money and wealth. So I'm really curious, what is that? What is behind that we're way lagging? Even though we're right up here kind of getting really equal. But when it comes to this conversation about money and wealth, we're just not even in the conversation still.
I want everybody to hear money and wealth, because just because you're earning money doesn't mean that you are wealthy. And of course, if we know a little bit about your history, Krisstina, you darn near worked yourself to death, literally. And actually, you had a post this morning on the woman that helped save your life. I think that women just keep feeling like they can just shoulder on, but the fact is that building wealth is actually just a series of actions. And the way you explain it is pretty simple. But men, on the other hand, is it because they take more chances? Is it because they make more money in general? They still do. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I mean, I think there's just still a cultural narrative. You just think that women and money, it's still a newer thing. I mean, career and success also. But when it comes to real money, there's not a lot of mentors, or there's not a lot of I don't know,
role models. Would you say?
That's what we're looking for, like real role models, where we're seeing like women like really own wealth, not just success, and not just, you know, a CPA or something, but just to really have this mindset and this example of true wealth and true financial freedom and this creation. I still see women abdicate the money piece. We're really good about going for the career and success, but then we give it to the husbands, the financial planners, the CPAs, the bookkeepers to do something with the money we make. Okay. So I just bring that back to, we've still got some programming that we've adopted, that we're not good with money. We have to be good with numbers. You know, if I'm good at my career, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think that you just hit on because I was thinking about this morning, anticipating this call, and it is a mindset. It's a mindset. First of all, do we allow ourselves to have wealth? Is that a barrier? And then you talk about how we abdicate, and I'm totally guilty of that. I mean, I have handed over, you know, yeah, you do it because I don't really understand it. And you've really simplified that in your Wise Money program, because you make it so simple that it's like, oh, duh, I get this. And yet I think it's more about focus. And when I worked with you and Macy, your daughter, on that whole curves program, and talk about the buckets, it's pretty simple math, but we don't do it. And I think you're right. No role models, no structure, no system, and no support group. Talk to us about what you think we could do as a first step.
I think the first step is desire. We versus this fear of money that's really deep down. Every like decisions or deciding not to decide one way or another comes from fear, you know. So we're afraid when we have a belief that we're not good with money, we're not good at math, you know, somebody else is better at that. As long as I focus on this, I don't have to worry about it. You know, things from our childhood programming, dad always did the money or mom never, you know, whatever that is deeply embedded and programmed in our psyche. So the first thing is to want to break that with this desire to say, I want to be great with money. I call it feminine financial power.
Ooh,
You know, we talk about empowerment and women empowerment and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, do you know the best way? You don't have to talk about empowerment or how to be or feel empowered. When you understand money and you've got the money game nailed and you're confident and competent and you know you're doing the right things and you're building wealth and you're on the trajectory and you know what you're doing and you don't have to abdicate a damn thing. You know, you can choose to get help and that type of thing, but you're not abdicating or giving that power away. You are automatically empowered. That financial power transcends to empowerment across the board naturally. Yet it's the last thing we're trying to get to learn. You know, it's like if I focus on all these other things in life, the money thing's just going to come to me. Well, it's reverse order. Yeah, it's just reverse order. So I say desire to get good with money.
You know what? I just want to punctuate something you just said, which is it transcends. And so think about that for a minute, ladies. You don't make knee-jerk decisions because you've got to either pay the rent or do this. You get to choose life by design, not by default. And you're never dependent on anyone else. Not that you shouldn't have, you know, resources, but think about how more, I'm going to say attractive, and I don't mean in a physical way, but I mean attractive because the energy is there, that you are comfortable with how you're going to live day to day, how you're going to live 20 years from now. And I think you're absolutely right. It transcends into a confidence that makes you attractive. Is that, can I say that?
Yeah, I mean, it's competence. When we become money competent, you know, which is like money literate. I did an Instagram live on Friday and I said, you know, I never liked the word financial illiteracy. It just didn't resonate with me. But now the more that I'm spending time and doing the work that I'm doing, I recognize that we really are illiterate when it comes to money. Most of us are. And more so as women, just because we don't have a history, you know, we couldn't have a bank account till, you know, whatever year, right? So, you know, it's just there. So we have to kind of overcome that. But this illiteracy, or what I call a lack of competence, like a lack of knowledge, a lack of competence, it's that lack of knowledge and competence or what to do that causes us to abdicate, that keeps us unempowered. So that competence, learning, like you said, it's easy to learn. Everybody that's ever gone through my program that's been like terrified of money one way or another says, you mean I've been terrified of this money thing my entire life and it's this easy? It's like, yeah, it's this easy, but we're not taught that it's this easy. We're kind of kept in the dark in a way. So we can learn this, then this new knowledge then automatically converts to confidence. And that confidence is what I call feminine financial empowerment. Like feminine financial power, we just stand in that financial power that, like I said, then transcends to confidence in all our other areas. And and you just stand in kind of an authority and an integrity that is recognized and sensed all around you. The first place, if we feel like we're lacking confidence in life or success or career, if you master this money thing, that will go away. I mean, it's wild how that happens.
Well, it certainly worked for you, but not because you didn't go through a trail of broken glass and everything but pestilence. But, you know, one of the things I think that as a woman, I've always feared it was too complicated. I didn't understand stocks or bonds. Most of the people that you and I reach are in some form of real estate sales, real estate management, investors. And so we know the inside track, but building wealth and making money are two distinct. I mean, you can make a ton of money. We know a lot, you and I know a lot of people in real estate, men or women, that made a lot of money and then didn't have it. And it's not because they were buying boats and trains, but mostly just because they didn't know how to manage it. And so is it true that it's complicated? I mean, do you have to have a financial planner? What can you do right now that can give you control back? What if you're not 25? We talked about Macy last week.
Right. It's a how we build wealth is how well we build wealth and how fast we build wealth is directly correlated to how well we manage our money.
Day to day.
Day to day. And again, if we don't have a desire to manage it and to be good with money and know how to track it, like you said, have a system for it and have a really good practice, that means we ignore it, we abdicate it, we don't pay attention to it, we let somebody else touch it, we kind of keep our fingers crossed. And all of that is not going to turn into wealth. That means we can earn a great paycheck and we can spend some money on a decent lifestyle, but it doesn't mean we're going to gain any wealth or any type of financial freedom over time.
Do you think, though, that it's too late for some people? I mean, it's like we talked about Mace being only about 24 years old and already owning a property and generating income and really solidifying going forward. What about somebody who's like 55 or 65?
Yeah, I mean, I love that quote. I don't remember who it's by, but it says, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today. And so wherever we are, like, yeah, if we started this at 30 versus 50, would we, be on a different trajectory? Of course. But the wealth game, it takes like 10 years for it to start to get some traction. So to start creating wealth, we really do need like a 10-year space, like a 10-year time frame. And to get that traction, at the same time, if we continue to do what we do, we're not going to have anything. So if we make these changes, we're going to be better off than not. But I like to give an example that in the last crash, what was that, 2008, 2009, 2010? Kind of that time frame, we're all in real estate, myself included, and that was a really slim time financially. I don't know everybody else, but I owned a real estate brokerage, a big real estate brokerage, and we had thousands of listings and no buyers. Like, we couldn't sell anything no matter what. We couldn't drop prices fast enough. Then it became short sale market, and most of us have been there. But that was happening in that. But at the same time, became like the best wealth building opportunity. So the wealth that I have today, which was a little over 10 years ago. Now, that decade of kind of buying, if I was buying in, 2010, 11, 12, and kind of that once we got over the hump of the worst piece, to think that was roughly 10 years ago, that 10 years now has turned into a significant amount of wealth, with some changes and things. So it only took 10 years. So if we're 50, we have to 60. If we have 60, we have to 70. Like, we can do a lot in that time frame. And it's just to think, oh, it's too late. I'm not smart enough. I'm too old. I'm too young. We can have a lot of the 20-year-olds are like, I'm too young. And then others are, I'm too old, or I don't have enough time. We can find an excuse not to do this work, any excuse, if we want to. So that's just it. I really implore women to want to really stand up and know this and to learn it. And, with men, the difference I've learned with men, another difference thing with men is men talk about it. They're out on the golf course. They'll talk about money. They'll talk about, what their portfolio is and how things are doing. And, it's to talk about money is not odd for men. They do it regularly. And I think to get good at anything, we really need to talk about it. And I can't tell you, I'm in lots of women's circles. And if I bring up money, it's like, almost, like, how dare you? And, but that's just it.
Well, you wrote Falling for Money, and then you realize that women have this issue. And, I'm going to throw in there, and I could be inaccurate, but it's only been in the last 50 years that women have really come into their own. And right now, most of the wealth in the country is owned by women over 50. And so you wonder, are you being mindful? And again, it's about attention. Anything we give our attention to is going to grow. So if you're giving your attention to everything that's wrong, you're going to see a lot of wrong. But what if you spent even 10 minutes a day doing one thing? And I think it would start with, where's your money going? What are you spending your money on? And I remember me reading an article years ago about a financial person helping somebody get financial stability. And they said, well, you've got 10 subscriptions you're not using. I talked to a woman just this week who said she's had a gym membership for years and she's never been there. So why would you finance someone else's wealth, right? Would you say starting with a budget and seeing where you're spending your money is any good place to start?
Yeah, well, I don't like the word budget per se, because who wants to, how I think about a budget is like a low calorie diet.
Oh yeah.
You know, who wants to go on a low calorie diet? And even if you do it for a little while, can you keep it forever? That's like a budget. So it's like budgeting, and it's about restriction and about not spending and about all these things versus, you know, I teach a system that's called bucketing, which means we create buckets of money that we spend and we have full joy in spending. But it's not spending that's the problem. It's what we're spending on and what we're not spending on. That's the issue. We don't know how to spend. And so when we learn how to spend powerfully, then we start buying different things and we understand the trade-offs of buying this over that, of buying a pair, you know, of Jimmy Choo shoes over maybe putting $2,000 into a bucket for an investment. Your choice, right? But it's just understanding that money follows these certain laws and we have trade-offs. And I want everybody to spend 100% of everything they make. Don't need any budgets, but to be very cognizant and mindful of every dollar and how it's working. Is in alignment to your wealth goals and strategies and intentions, or is it sabotaging your future self and those financial desire streams and intentions?
Yeah. So as an example, I mean, especially in real estate, when you're an entrepreneur, and you know, when we wrote the New York Times bestseller, The 1 Minute Entrepreneur, we realized that most entrepreneurs are so passionate and they're working hard, but they don't work smart. And one of the smart things, you've got to take money out for taxes. It's, you know, when you make $1,000, you don't make $1,000. You make about 20, 30, maybe sometimes even more or less than that. So you've got to account for taxes, but then you've also got to account for lifestyle. And you said something in one of our earlier conversations about supporting a lifestyle that you can't support, right? So, you know, it looks good, but you said it was kind of ego driven. So would you tell somebody to look at your life and say, how authentic is this? Where am I going with this? How am I going to support my family or myself? You know, we assume as entrepreneurs that we're always going to be there to work. And then you and I both have the interesting challenge of not being able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the distinction I give there, and I don't know if we've talked about this on one of our previous episodes or not, but I call it the distinction between being rich and being wealthy. And being rich is external, so you can see riches. And the problem with high incomes, and especially, let's say, those of us in real estate of the last handful of years, it's been pretty easy to make a really good income. That's awesome, right? But what happens when we make high incomes, especially that have a lot to do with market, just kind of the marketplace, not necessarily because we have a different skill level or something, like our business has changed, like we changed it. It's more the markets that's changed the business. Is that it's really easy for two things to happen, is for the ego to creep in to think, hey, I'm doing all these things. I'm amazing. I'm amazing. I'm amazing. Not that we're not amazing, but we're not giving any like credit to maybe the market and adjusting accordingly. But the ego can certainly get in there. The problem though, is we start making a lot of money. Let's just say the market has allowed us to do that. And we start feeling rich. When we make high incomes, we feel rich. And we feel like it's going to go on forever. So we spend and we act and have a lifestyle according to these riches that are coming in, and we start buying a rich lifestyle. So it can really get us into trouble because, one, if the marketplace shifts like it has now, and all of a sudden that income radically goes down, many times like overnight, the faucet just really starts to crank the other direction. What happens is our expenses don't automatically adjust down to match the adjustment of income. So now our ratios are really out of whack. And now we're kind of destroying whatever we kind of built up over the last few years. And it can go faster. It goes a lot. It's like, you know, when you go to work out and you're really in great shape and you've been working hard and doing all the things, and then you think you can take a little hiatus for 6 months and then you atrophy so fast.
Oh, like 2 days.
Like 2 days. It's like, wait, it took me a year to build that and it's gone like in 2 weeks. Are you kidding me? Money's the same thing. We can work so hard for it. And the second that it changes and we're out of the exercise of it, it atrophies and all of a sudden it's gone. So we just have to be very careful. But that's riches, is that our lifestyle really mimics the income we're making because we feel rich, and that can get us in a lot of trouble. Versus wealth, you can't see. What riches are like the cars and the houses and the shoes and the bags and the clothing and the restaurants out and the nice fancy vacations and everything anybody could say is like, wow, Terry must be really rich. Look at that car she drives. Look at those clothes she wears. Look at, look at all the things. She must have a lot of money, right? So one may or may not have a lot of wealth. Wealth, on the other hand, that's assets. Wealth you can't see. The public can't see the wealth. The wealth shows up on financial statements. It shows up on a balance sheet. So there may be one person that drives a really fancy, let's say Lamborghini, and shows up and people are like, man, that woman's rich. Look at what she's going on. She's got the Louis bag and she's driving a Lambo. And not that women drive Lambos, that's a guy thing mostly, but to make the point. And then all the things. And then maybe there's another woman over here that's driving, I don't know, maybe not a bad car, but just an
Okay car.
okay car. It might be like a 3 Series BMW or something. Not that it has to be that, but it's still a BMW, but maybe it's a 3 Series BMW and it looks very different. So if we're going to look and just compare this over here, this got the Lambo, the Jimmy Choo shoes, the Louis bag, the yada yada jewelry, and says she's rich. And we have another woman here, maybe she doesn't quite look the same. And we said, choose the one that's kind of richer, has more money. Ultimately, we're probably going to choose the one that has all the bling. Because what we can't see on the other hand is maybe woman number 2 over here, she might have $10 million of real estate assets, not have to work at all, and has a lot of wealth and passive income, but it's just not showing up because you can't see it. It's not obvious. So that's the difference I call between being rich and wealth, is that we want to be wealthy. There's nothing wrong with riches, but we don't want the riches at the expense of building wealth. We want to have enough wealth that affords us to buy the riches, which is a backwards order.
Yeah, the other thing I think it might be wise to throw in there, no pun intended, sorry, was that, when you have financial stability, I think that impacts how you manage your time. So one of the biggest issues is I really can't work out because I don't have time, because I'm so busy trying to put money together because I got, all these things. And, life's going to throw you curves all the time. I mean, look at COVID. Did we ever think that would happen in our lifetime? Never. Look at what happened to you, basically on your deathbed, young and strong. But, literally, things can happen that take you off your game. The market shift. Well, you and I we've been through a million markets. People always need housing, just like they need food, right? They may not need Jimmy Choo's, but they need shoes. And so you can really understand that having something that works while you don't makes more money basically than you do. If you have one investment, a small townhouse, a studio, something that will help you while you're working, to build wealth, to build equity, to leverage. These are the kinds of things that really don't take a lot of money, but they do take attention, would you say? So would that be part of your strategic plan, is investing?
Investing, you can't get to wealth without investing. So either you're investing for your trust fund, or your parents or grandparents invested and you're getting some hand-me-down that way. But ultimately, wealth is investing. It comes through time, that we buy assets over time and we let them appreciate and accumulate, and then they have a certain worth and they throw off a certain amount of cash. And that cash is called asset income versus working income, which is passive versus active. So it's a different type of income, and it opens up different things. It opens up choice and freedom. So when we don't have any type of asset or passive income, we still have to pay our bills. And so where do we get the money? Well, we go work for it, and we work in exchange for money. We have to go do something that earns money. That can be, it's an entrepreneur, we have to do it in our business. It can be working for somebody. At the end of the day, we have to use our bodies and work to make the income. When it's asset income, I'm about ready to go to the gym. I've got my gym stuff on. So asset income means that, we are, my lifestyle is supported or paid for by my assets that produce the cash flow. So it gives me the freedom to say, hey, do I want to be here with Terry? Do I want to run to the gym? Do I want to create a new business idea? Do I want to do something XYZ? So I might just have a lot of choices. I may say, hey, I want to do a webinar and I want to do these different things, but it's the choice of what I get to do with my time as opposed to no choice, meaning I have to like crank out this hour's worth of work on some type of dollar per hour, one way or another. Then that money is going to be used to pay the bills. So that's what we're doing over time is we're working to buy more of our future time through assets.
Nice to hear that. So I think that's the difference too between men and women. Let's just look at the fact that, especially in corporate America, men have options that we don't have as entrepreneurs. We don't have 401k set up automatically or pension funds or whatever. So wouldn't it make sense to create some kind of a vehicle so that you could fund life, whether or not you were actually making $1 per hour kind of thing? And I think men are just more predisposed to that than women.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And men just, again, women tend to be more fearful and a little bit less risk taking and a little bit more self-doubt. And like I said, we don't talk about it around the water cooler. And, like sex and money are these two taboo topics that we're not supposed to talk about if we're good girls. And we just need to change that. And I think the way we change it is through our own desire to want to get good at it. And then we normalize it. And then we want to tell others about it and tell others about it.
Well, if I were listening to this and I'd be like, you're so right, no matter what age, okay, we've made mistakes. There's been investments both you and I that have not worked out, but that didn't devastate us financially. When you decided not to trade your health for wealth, which is how Wealthy was born, and then Wise Money, tell us a little bit what our options are to learn a little bit more about this without having to, quit our jobs and go to school.
I mean, right now, what I would say is if anybody's interested in just learning the fundamentals of money, becoming financially literate and empowered to just understand how it works, there's a whole kind of game to it that we're oblivious to, that once we learn that, it changes everything. Like I said, it transcends to every category of life, and it's super fun. So I have a money school, and the next class starts the first week of October. So if anybody wants to apply to see if they might be a good fit for the class that's starting, then it's wisemoneymethod.com/curbs, CURBS. I know that you'll put that in the notes, but it's a really great page. It will show you everything that I teach and do and what the program is, how the school works. And it's an amazing 12 weeks just to dedicate and invest in yourself, invest in the knowledge and understanding of this thing called money. And at the end, like I said, it's going to have clarity, competence, and confidence that you'll be able to use everywhere from that day forward. Wow. You're starting to get in the wealth game. And the wealth game and the income game are different strategies. It's checkers and chess. And that's what I want women to do. I want women to embrace this idea, this desire, and this passion for money, for just getting good with money.
Well, here's the thing. Definitely you can sign up. You can go to womenswisdomnetwork.com/Money Monday and get the scoop on that and be at least. And one of the best things about this is that you just don't tell people to sign up. You actually offer them some one-on-one.
Yeah, there's one-on-one in it. It's group, it's one-on-one. It's, you go through, you learn from me teaching online, you do homework, there's one-on-one. I have money coaches, the whole thing. And so I call it an immersive program. When I wanted to learn Spanish, I knew I tried to learn it here and there in college, and it was a joke, right? I mean, after all these classes, I couldn't go out on, down on the street and try to speak Spanish. Like it was academic. It was learning it, just these bits and pieces. But when I got serious about learning Spanish, I moved to Costa Rica and I immersed myself in the environment, and I came back fluent. 3 months later, not fluent, but conversational 3 months later. So you think
Wow.
like 2 years, just like, taking classes here and there and trying to figure it out versus 3 months of immersion. So this 12 weeks, it's pretty immersive, not like that, but you're working on your finances like 3 hours a week and really getting immersed in them.
So
And that immersive experience, you come back fluent in money.
yeah, and you can't lose because you've got support before and after. And here's the thing, 12 weeks is going to pass anyway. 12 years is going to pass anyway.
Well said.
That if we start right now, there'll be a change. And my good friend that used to speak would say, no change, no change. And it just was pretty simple. So, go to womenswisdomnetwork.com/Money Monday.
Perfect.
Learn all about it. Do go to, we'll post in the link as well, Krisstina. And, you can join us every single Monday for a couple of weeks, because our goal, our mutual goal, this beautiful girl here, that's just so smart, is join me in wanting to help women. And that's what the Women's Wisdom Network's all about. So thank you so much for joining us. Ask a friend. It's absolutely at no cost. You're getting the brilliance of someone who's been able to do it, unfortunately, the hard way, but she did it. And now she's making it easy for us. So thanks so much for joining us. And Krisstina, thank you so much. You get to go to the gym. I don't know what the rest of us are going to do, but if we just put on the outfit, that doesn't count. I'm just saying. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Join us next Monday, Central Time at 2:00 for Money Mondays with Krisstina Wise.
And Terry Murphy.
Oh yeah, her too.